What's up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA 220-1001 examination. So let's get into it. In this video, you will learn about various internet connections and network types along with their features. Before we get started, let's talk about the comparisons of network connection speeds from fastest to lowest. So as you can see with wired connections, fiber will be the fastest, followed by cable, followed by DSL, followed by ISDN, and then followed by dial-up. When it comes to wireless connections, the fastest is cellular, then fixed line of sight, and satellite. Let's talk about cable. So prior to the advent of fiber optics, the fastest internet service available to home and business customers was cable internet. Cable internet is a form of broadband internet access which uses the same RG6 coaxial cable as a cable television, but adds a device called a cable modem to convert the signal for use by computers and home business networks. And here you can look at these wonderful images of what is an RG6 coaxial cable. Pretty sure you got one of these hanging out of a wall in your house right now. And then you have a picture of a typical cable modem showing where you plug in the network cable, the power cord, and the actual RG6 cable. So you can get on the internet and watch some TV. All right, so typical cable internet speeds, they range from 10 megabits per second upwards to about 100 megabits per second, but some operators are now offering 500 megabits per second and 1,000 megabits per second or 1 gig per second speeds by using fiber optic service. Cable internet pricing varies with the downstream and upstream speed chosen. Symmetrical service, which offers the same downstream and upstream speed, is typically offered to business customers. Most cable ISPs or internet service providers do not have data caps. To determine the actual upstream downstream speeds your connection achieves with an ISP, you can use what is called a speed testing website. Many ISPs provide speed testing web page links on their customer service page. Upstream refers to data, page requests, email, and so on being sent from your computer or network to the internet. Downstream refers to any information being received from the internet. So sending data upstream is called uploading and receiving data is called downloading. So here's a typical picture of an internet speed test. Now understand they do make speed test apps that are available for your smartphone. So just go to your app store and download a speed test so you can see how fast your internet connection is. Let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of cable. So there's only two real major advantages to cable. And the first one is it is an always on connection. And also it is faster than dial-up connections or DSL. The disadvantages of cable are speeds are sometimes slower than fiber, or depending upon how many people are in the area that are connected at once to the neighborhood that share your ISP backbone, which is your main connection to the internet, that can affect your speed as well. And then the other disadvantage is cable internet is just simply not available in all places. Let's talk about DSL. So digital subscriber line is a communication medium used to transfer digital signals over standard telephone lines. Along with cable internet, DSL is one of the most popular ways ISPs provide broadband internet access. DSL used by telephone companies to provide internet services at speeds much faster than that allowed by analog or dial-up internet services, while allowing traditional analog telephones and devices such as fax machines to share the same connection. To make this possible, devices called DSL microfilters are attached between telephones and telephony devices such as answering machines, voicemails, and fax machines to prevent interference with DSL signals. And there is a pretty picture there below showing you a typical DSL setup. The two major types of DSL that use telephone lines are ADSL, which stands for asynchronous DSL, and SDSL, which stands for synchronous DSL. The two newer types of DSL are VDSL, or very high bitrate DSL, and VDSL2, and that uses fiber for at least part of the signal path. Now, both VDSL and VDSL2 use fiber for most of the distance from the telephone company's central office, where all DSL services connect to the internet. SDSL gets its name from providing the same speed in both directions. ADSL is always faster downstream than upstream. And here is a pretty little chart showing common DSL services compared. If you want to study this chart, head on over to my website, Technology G, and that chart will be available for you. Traditional DSL speeds range from 768 kilobits per second downstream and 384 kilobits per second upstream to about 6 megabits per second down and 768 kilobits per second up. Speeds decrease as the distance between the DSL service location and the central switch, which is also known as the central office, providing the DSL connection, increases. Most DSL providers do not have data caps. And here's some of the advantages and disadvantages of DSL. So the first advantage is it is faster than a dial-up connection, and users can connect to the internet and talk on the phone simultaneously, unlike dial-up. Now, here are some of the disadvantages. It provides inconsistent internet connection speeds. It is available in limited distances from service providers. Speeds drop the greater the distance from the connection to the internet, which, like I said earlier, is also known as the central office or the central switch. And it is slower than cable or fiber connections. Let's talk about dial-up. So dial-up internet access is a form of internet access that uses the facilities of the public switch telephone network, also known as PTSN, to establish a connection to an ISP by dialing a telephone number on a conventional telephone line. Dial-up connections use modems to decode audio signals into data to send to a router or computer, and to encode signals from the latter two devices to send to another modem. Until the late 1990s, dial-up networking was the most common way for home and small businesses to connect to the internet. Today, dial-up connections are used when no other internet connection is available. Dial-up has rates ranging from 28.8 kilobits per second to 56 kilobits per second and is available any place that has a landline telephone system. A disadvantage of telephone dial-up is that voice and data cannot share the wire simultaneously. Fiber optics is a technology that uses glass or plastic threads, which are also known as fibers, to transmit data. A fiber optic cable consists of a bundle of glass threads, each of which is capable of transmitting messages modulated onto light waves. Fiber optics is the fastest type of internet service, which is primarily used as a backbone between networks. Fiber optic cable come in two major types. You have single mode. And this has a thin core between 8 and 10 microns designed to carry a single light ray long distances up to 60 kilometers or further. Single mode cable uses a laser diode as a light source. Typical uses include cable TV and telephone companies. And then you have multi-mode. This has a thicker core of 62.5 microns than the single mode cable, carries multiple light rays for short distances up to about 10 kilometers. Multi-mode cable uses an LED light source. Typical uses include local and metropolitan area networks or LANs and MANs. Fiber optic devices and cables use one of several connector types. You have the SC connector, which that uses a square connector. The LC also uses a square connector, and the ST uses a round connector. A few other advantages that fiber optics presents is fiber optic cables have a much greater bandwidth than metal cables. This means they can carry more data. Fiber optic cables are less susceptible than metal cables to electromagnetic interference, also known as EMI. Fiber optic cables are much thinner and lighter than metal wires. Data can be transmitted digitally, the natural form of computer data, rather than analogically. Fiber optic is a very secure medium transmission. Optical network terminals, or ONTs, they can be found at your home, so neighborhood internet usage will not affect your connection speed. Now, a few disadvantages of fiber optic cabling are it is difficult to install because it's made of fragile glass or plastic fibers, and it has a higher cost than cable or DSL wiring. Satellite internet access is internet access provided through communications satellites. Satellite internet services are often bundled with satellite TV service. Satellite internet service uses oval satellite antennas, which are very similar in appearance to satellite TV antennas, to connect with geosynchronous communication satellites orbiting over the equator. These satellites relay internet from ground stations to individual users and viewers via a satellite modem. Satellite modems are proprietary to each satellite service and are usually purchased by the user. Satellite internet services offer pricing based on one or two variables: data bandwidth allowed per month and download speed. Data bandwidth per month ranges from 10 to 50 gigabits if you're using a HughesNet Generation 5, or 35 to 100 gigabits if you're using Viasat. Current download speeds vary from 12 to 50 megabits per second if you're using Viasat, to 25 megabits per second if you're using HughesNet's plans. Satellite internet vendors do have data caps. And some of the advantages of satellite are there are no geographic barriers, so satellite signals can reach places where cable or fiber are not available, and satellite is faster than dial-up connections. The disadvantages to using satellite is it is an expensive installation. Equipment costs can be expensive because you got to buy the modem and the dish. It is unreliable due to weather conditions that can affect the connection. Data caps are common with satellite providers, and it has a slow ping rate that is unsuitable for gaming, video chat, and voice over IP. ISDN, so Integrated Services Digital Network, is a set of communication standards for simultaneous digital transmission of voice, video, data, and other network services of traditional circuits of the public switch telephone network. ISDN is used on PSTN lines with a terminal adapter on multiple channels of 64 kilobits per second each. A terminal adapter resembles a conventional analog modem. Internal modems plug into the same PCIe or PCI slot used by analog modems, and external modems are USB or serial ports. There are two types of ISDN connections provided by local telephone companies, in which both types of connections enable the use of the internet, talk, or fax communications through a phone line at the same time. You have what is called the primary rate interface, or the PRI. A PRI connection provides 1.536 megabits per second of bandwidth, whereas a BRI provides 64 kilobits per second on a single channel, or 128 kilobits on a dual channel of bandwidth. PRI is sold to large organizations. And then you have BRI, or the basic rate interface, and this is sold to small businesses and home offices before DSL and cable became widely available. BRI offers up to 128 kilobits per second of bandwidth. Most telephone companies have largely phased out ISDN in favor of DSL, which is much faster and less expensive for internet connections. Cellular internet service is built into smartphones. There are two ways for other devices such as tablets and PCs to use cellular internet services, and that is by adding a cellular radio and data plan or connecting to a mobile hotspot. To add a cellular service to an Android tablet or iPad, the cellular radio must be factory installed and a suitable data plan purchased from a mobile carrier. To enable devices that have only Wi-Fi or wireless Ethernet connection to use cellular internet, you would connect them to a mobile hotspot. Mobile hotspot devices can be purchased from mobile service providers. For occasional use, many smartphones can also be turned into mobile hotspots. Cellular internet service is not recommended as your only connection because it is slower than most other services. And here is a pretty picture on how to turn your iPhone into a personal hotspot. You will go to settings, personal hotspot, and turn it on. Wireless cellular data network. So Wi-Fi connectivity is enabled the same way on a smartphone or tablet as with laptops and other types of computers. In addition, smartphones or tablets with cellular radios can also be used to share their connection with others. And one way they can do that is by tethering. So tethering, or what is known as phone as modem or PAM, is the sharing of a mobile device's internet connection with other connected computers. Connection of a mobile device with other devices can be done over wireless LAN or Wi-Fi, over Bluetooth, or by a physical connection using a cable such as a USB cable. The other way you can do it is through hotspots like we just discussed. So Wi-Fi hotspots are internet access points that allow you to connect to a Wi-Fi network using your computer, smartphone, or another device while away from your home or office network. Now be aware that some cellular providers charge additional fees if you turn your cellular device into a hotspot or if you are using it for tethering. Also keep in mind that the data usage of every device connected to a mobile hotspot is counted towards your total data allocation, which could potentially result in you paying extra money for overages. Line of sight wireless. So line of sight wireless, sometimes called LOS, and it's also referred to as terrestrial wireless, is a type of propagation that can transmit and receive data only where transmit and receive stations are in view of each other without any sort of obstacle between them. This means that the customer antenna must be placed on the roof or on its own stand, and trees may need to be trimmed to provide adequate signal quality. FM radio, microwave, and satellite transmissions are examples of LOS communication. To bring the network signal into the premises, coaxial cable connects from the antenna to the line of sight wireless modem, which is similar to a cable modem. You would connect the modem to a router to provide internet access to multiple devices. Typical download speeds range from 256 kilobits per second up to 10 megabits per second. Let's talk about network types. So a network is a group of computers that use a set of common communication protocols over digital interconnections for the purpose of sharing resources located on or provided by network nodes. The interconnections between nodes are formed from a broad spectrum of telecommunication network technologies based on physically wired, optical, and wireless radio frequency methods that may be arranged in a variety of network topologies. First type of network we're going to talk about is called a LAN, so a local area network. This is a computer network within a small geographical area such as a home, school, computer lab, office building, or a group of buildings. A LAN is composed of interconnected workstations and personal computers, which are each capable of accessing and sharing data and devices such as printers, scanners, and data storage devices anywhere on the LAN. LANs are characterized by higher communication and data transfer rates and the lack of any need for leased communication lines. LANs can be wired or wireless. A wired LAN can have high-speed connections with Ethernet, unshielded twisted pair, or UTP, shielded twisted pair cables, STP, or fiber. Legacy LANs are often connected by coax cables. Next, we have a WAN, a wide area network. This is a network that exists over a large scale geographic area. A WAN connects different smaller networks, including LANs, and metro area networks or MANs. This ensures that computers and users in one location can communicate with computers and users in other locations. WAN implementation can be done either with the help of the public transmission system or a private network. The internet is an example of a WAN. WANs are administered by several different internet service providers, and the links are usually slower than LAN connections. Next, we have a PAN, a personal area network. is a computer network for interconnecting electronic devices centered on an individual person's workspace. A PAN provides data transmission among devices such as computers, smartphones, tablets, and personal digital assistants. PANs can be used for communication among the personal devices themselves or for connecting to a higher level network and the internet where one master device takes up the role as the gateway. Examples of devices in a PAN are wireless headsets, keyboards, mice, printers, and barcode scanners, etc. A PAN may be wireless or carried over wired interfaces such as USB. Next, we have a MAN, a metropolitan area network. This is a computer network that interconnects users with computer resources in a geographic region of the size of a metropolitan area. The term MAN is applied to the interconnection of LANs in a city into a single larger network, which may then also offer efficient connection to a WAN. The term is also used to describe the interconnection of several LANs in a metropolitan area through the use of point-to-point connections between them. And finally, we have WMN, which stands for Wired Mesh Network. So a wired mesh network is a communications network made up of radio nodes organized in a mesh topology. It can also be a form of wireless ad hoc networking. WMNs often consist of mesh clients, mesh routers, and gateways. WMNs can range from very small home networks to large citywide networks. Management of wireless mesh networks is decentralized. Without a central connection device, it can take time for all the wireless devices to find each other if they are moving around. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some check on learning, shall we? So the first question is, which type of cabling is immune to electromagnetic interference? Would it be UTP? Would it be fiber? Would it be USB? Or would it be STP? So which type of cabling is immune to electromagnetic interface? The correct answer is fiber. Fiber is immune. Remember, fiber is a bunch of light traveling through tiny strands of glass or plastic. Next question. Which type of fiber optic cabling is best suited for long distance communication? Would it be multi-mode, single mode, short distance mode, or long distance mode? So which type of fiber optic cabling is best suited for long distance communication? The correct answer is single mode. Single mode fiber optic cabling is best suited for long distance communication, while multi-mode is generally used for short distances within one building or a group of close buildings. And the final question is, which internet connection type is limited to an area near the central office and can make use of existing wiring infrastructure? Would it be DSL? Would it be cable? Would it be fiber? Or would it be satellite? So which internet connection is limited to an area near the central office and can make use of existing wiring infrastructure? The correct answer is DSL, digital subscriber line. This is limited by the distance from the central office for communication, and it can make use of existing phone lines already in place at your home or business. All right. So in summary, we have talked about various internet connections and network types along with their features. Now, if you felt like you've got something valuable out of this information, please go ahead and hit the like button, the share button, drop a comment. Most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. Also, go visit my website, technologyg.com, so that you can get read up on the latest and greatest to help you successfully pass the CompTIA 220-1001 examination. And until next video, ladies and gentlemen, peace.